While Forza Motorsport is still in development, I felt it would be a good idea to continue the pattern that I did with Forza Horizon 5 and make a wish list for the new Forza Motorsport. So with this video, I would really like to see what you guys have to say as well, so please leave a comment about things that you would like to see in Forza Motorsport as well. Getting into my suggestions first. So, my number one suggestion would be to bring back features that the Forza Motorsport community has been requesting to return for a very long time now. A few examples would just be, racetracks that we all, miss from the past, such as, Fujimi Kaido. I know tons of people really want that track back, including me. And then other things such as car soccer would be so much fun to have back. And then things like the auction house we already have in Forza Motorsport 7. And it's great that they are continuing to give us some of these features, but it would be great to see even more. Next up would be open lobbies. I know so many people have really been wanting open lobbies. It's just so much fun, and it would be truly amazing to have open lobbies back. Next up would be a real sense of progression in the game. Forza Motorsport 7 and even Motorsport 6 had very poor progression in the game. Basically what would happen is you'd do your first couple races and you'd already have at least one supercar in your garage and tons of money to spare. And I feel like it's going to be so much more rewarding to work towards having a full garage of supercars, as a reward for finishing the campaign. So as you start off in your really slow cars, your Golf GTIs, Ford Fiesta STs like me, all these Toyota GT86, cars like this. You have to start off in those cars and have to really work your way up to get into your supercars and high-end vehicles. I think a real sense of progression would just do so much in terms of gameplay and progression in Forza Motorsport. Next up is a little more ambitious, but let's go with Rallycross. Rallycross would be a fantastic way to spice up the next game, using all the power of the next gen consoles and having to bring that innovation. I think Rallycross is a huge way that they could do that. Going along with that, autocross would also be incredible. We had autocross, I believe, in Forza Motorsport 6, but it was really fun. And I think it would be even better if they made it not just on existing tracks, but had like open parking lots that you could have, set up cones in and create your own autocross courses. I know that's a big ask, but that would be truly amazing. Next up, I wanted to bring up a few things about realism and racing that I would like to see in the game. First off, this is unlikely, and I'll explain why in a second, but a better damage model for vehicles. This is obviously a big thing in terms of immersion when you crash a car, to be able to see the car, actually take some damage. But the reason why most games don't really have a super in-depth damage model when it comes to real life cars is that car manufacturers don't like that in video games. They don't like seeing their cars all damaged up and destroyed in a video game. That's why games like Burnout in the past always had fictional cars and you could totally destroy those. So while I think a better damage model would be fantastic, I just don't see it happening. Next up would be safety cars. Now, safety cars is a huge part of real life racing, and even games like, the F1 games have pretty much perfected the art of safety cars in racing games. And I think it's about time that Forza catches up with the pack and includes safety cars in the game. Next up when it comes to racing would be endurance races. Now, I know you can set your own custom races to be however long you want, but I'm talking more in terms of in the campaign. When you get to the later stages of the campaign, having to do really long endurance races would really make that big championship win at the end have such a huge payoff. Going along with the endurance races would be more in-depth and realistic pit stops. My number one problem with Forza 7's pit stops is not only does the AI automatically drive you through the pit lane, but it doesn't even really show you what's going on with your car, and you don't really to have the ability to, choose the amount of tires you want, choose the amount of fuel you want put in your car, and make minor, front aero tweaks would really bring another depth of immersion into the Forza Motorsport series. Next thing I'd like to see is another pretty big feature, but it would really spice up the game, and that would be a Racetrack Creator. Now, this is not unheard of before, as I believe Gran Turismo 6 had this as well, and that was one of the most fun parts of that game. Getting to create your own racetrack and then drive on it was very unique, and it really led to, spending countless hours in the Racetrack Creator, making the most fun versions of your existing tracks, or even your own just brand new, never seen before racetracks. And if Forza Motorsport had something like this, it would really bring another depth of fresh air to the series. My final suggestion would be to have a car list of over 1,000 cars. This is something that I don't think is very unlikely, because we know the Forza Motorsport games are famous for having insane car lists. So over 1,000 cars would be truly fantastic. But one thing I wanted to mention in regards to that would be to have 1,000 cars that people actually want to drive. Having your Honda Odyssey in Forza Motorsport 7 is cool, but do you really want to drive it all the time? If you're anything like me, you do. But hey, that's up to personal preference, and I think we just want a lot more community suggested cars to return from previous games into Forza Motorsport, and to help bump up that number to 1,000. Alright everyone, so that is it for this video. If you could leave your suggestions of things that you'd like to see in Forza Motorsport in the comments, I would love to see what you guys have to say. Alright, so if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for much more Forza news, gameplay news, and all other racing game content in general, I highly recommend subscribing, as I will be posting lots of it. Alright everyone, that's it for this one, and I'll see you guys in the next video.